Seien Sie ganz herzlich begrüßt.
Welcome. You will have to do with a little different energy. We have, regarding this topic, you may say I'm a dreamer, dreaming of peace, though there's war.
Vielleicht halten Sie uns,
Maybe you think I'm a dreamer. Maybe you might laugh at me, but from a Buddhistic point of view, peace doesn't have to be a dream. Peace can be a reality and become reality. If we have our deepest longings, the voice of the soul,
die Sehnsucht nach einer friedlicheren Welt.
the wish for a better world,
Und aus der
we
Sehnsucht
see it and we let it become a vision,
Vision, die uns eine Orientierung
a
gibt.
vision that gives us an orientation,
Eine Vision, für die wir uns
a vision that we want to engage in. How can we do that?
Eine friedliche Außenwelt ist kaum denkbar.
A peaceful outer world isn't possible and not imaginable without a peaceful inner world. Or let's say it like that. Peace in the world outside has something to do with the world inside. The world inside comes from Rilke. Peace work means, in the beginning, to be peace.
Bekannter buddhistischer Mönch,
Some famous Buddhist monk said once.
indem wir uns um Frieden im Weltinnenraum kümmern,
And if we take care of peace in the world inside, then if even in difficult circumstances, we can feel without bad feelings. And Mahatma Gandhi said, you have to be the change that you want to see in the world. And Gandhi was
Vorbild für
an image for Martin Luther King. Nowadays, the Dalai Lama shows peacefulness, and the Dalai Lama was friends with Nelson Mandela,
und weitere
and more lamps in the darkness can be said, like Mara Gozananda.
Friedensarbeit in Kambodscha mit
He did peace work in Cambodia. Nonny Glassman, Claude Thomas, Joan Halifax in America. They all had to do with inconveniences, and they felt high repression. But you never heard a word of hate from them. And if there's war somewhere already, they do it with all their life to make sure there's no more escalation. I can remember communication with two war fugitives, and they were being freed, and the one said to the other, so, well, did you relieve your...
Forgive your enemies.
Huh?
Did you forgive your enemies?
Vorbilder sind wichtig.
Role models are important to create new ideas within people on the basis of peacefulness and absence of violence. And these new ideas, these two former prisoners of war, they never wanted to destroy their enemies, but they wanted to convince them, to win them over. And they knew how to differentiate between those who did those things to them and the things being done to them. And Martin Luther King said to his enemies, throw us in jail and we will not stop loving you.
Frieden im Welt
On the basis of peacefulness, based on this peace within the world inner sphere. And we don't take revenge for what's being done to us with even a new form of violence. But we don't forget about this. We don't look away. Peace within ourselves is not about giving in. It's not about weakness. Peace, foremost, is a decision for peace. So how do we approach this? How do we find peace within this inner sphere? For many people, the path begins with slowing down, with standing still. The Tao Te Ching says, he who stands still reaches stillness. And a common element of all Buddhist meditation practices is getting nearer to oneself. And this gives us support, being near to oneself. And that gives us the strength to engage with the outside world. Feeling within yourself, seeing within yourself, and admitting what we find there. Acknowledging it. That's a prerequisite for advocating for the light, is seeing the darkness within oneself and acknowledging it. Maybe it's anger, maybe helplessness, fear, but we need this conscious acknowledgement. And by acknowledging it, we become active, and it's a small step, but it's very important. And to not get overwhelmed by these feelings of anger or fear or helplessness. And we need this experience of being helpless, of being vulnerable, to wake up, be needing the help of others. And that's very important, I think, to be emotionally reachable for us and for others. And maybe you can remember there was this press photo of the year, I think, from the war in Iraq. And you see American soldiers exiting the frame, but turned towards the photographer is another soldier who put down his gun. So the other soldiers are carrying the guns and everything, the whole equipment, but this one single soldier is facing the photographer, and he doesn't have any army equipment, but he's holding a dead 8-year-old child in his hands. And you can see, like, for this soldier, the war is over. He cannot continue fighting. He had this emotional moment. And so being near to oneself, it changes us. And when we let that happen and acknowledge it, I think it's very plain to see we have to understand something to change it. Without understanding, there can be no change. And that also applies when we want to change the world in a more peaceful way. And when we want to understand, we need to look at something, right? Looking, feeling, and being touched. Acknowledging. And there are hindrances on this path of growth, right? We experience this right now. We experienced this in the past few years. It's all about opinions, being fixated on opinions, trying to enforce your opinions, force them on others. It's nihilism, cynicism, inner restlessness. So we constantly compare this what is with what we want, with what should be. And that creates tension. But when we find peace with ourselves, something changes within us. Something changes in space. We ourselves become more spacious. And within the space, new things can develop, new ideas. Well, how do we want to clean up a dark place? Well, we open the windows, we open the shades, let light in and see what's within the space, what's within this room. And opening the window, opening the shades, that's a metaphor for engaging with ourselves on a conscious level. As long as we're occupied by these emotions, by anger, fear, helplessness, these emotions control us. We don't control our emotions. And that means we give over a lot of power to the outside world to influence and create our inner world. And this leads to helplessness. And to use that, we need to be in a place that's less dependent on the outside world. And of course, there are different ways of achieving that. And I'm not going to talk about it. It can be meditation, visualizations, music, sounds, whatever.
You have to be more concise, and this opens you to be more, good to you, basically, and also to others, and it spreads. On this way, we get a deeper knowledge of ourselves, for our inner manifoldness, basically, and we are inspired. And this gives us more energy to be effective if we want to reach the outside. We feel more lively on the basis of a higher knowledge. If we don't feel that anymore, it happens to many people. If you can't just feel anymore, we can't feel what's good. So we might do bad things. And from this experience, a natural ethic grows, and you don't want to hurt other people anymore. It's a logic relation, basically. Does it mean? Well, it could be a question. Does it mean we're not allowed to resist or fight? Do we have to accept aggression? Gandhi said, assault is not... sorry, that's a really long quote.
The lack of violence doesn't mean accepting violence done by others, but it means resisting the aggressors. It means reaching them on a different level. So peaceful resistance is an active form of engagement. And it's about healing everything that disables us from reaching our deeper levels. And it's different from our everyday consciousness. And so oftentimes they're overlooked or people aren't interested in them. But it's very subtle, and it's about caring. It's about a caring mindset. And a politician from the German GDR once said, we expected everything, but we didn't expect this peaceful resistance. And that made us helpless. And so today, maybe this doesn't apply anymore, right? When we talk about the regimes today. But what still applies is engaging with our own inner selves, with our own inner peacefulness, and beginning that path. And history shows us you can't overcome an enemy that's greater than you when you let them dictate your choice of weaponry. And a historian who worked in various regions of war, he said there's only a chance for his work to succeed, which proves this Buddhist point. People who found this inner peace within their inner sphere, they engage with other people, they engage with their family, they have this sort of aura about them that influences the people around them. And so I think we can have this healing effect on the outside world, not just by what we do, but also what we are, which leads us to doing something. And so peacefulness, first and foremost, means being peace. And what we embody as resoluteness, as peacefulness, we can't just, that's not the only thing we need to do, focusing on our inner peace, but it's gonna make us stronger. It's gonna make it easier for us to engage with the outside world. And so, a lot of people say this isn't possible and this can't be done. But then someone comes along and just does it, right? And everyone sees it's possible. And so, please let us engage. Let us be activists for inner and outer peace. And there was an Indian Buddhist guru died in 1981, but he said, the more people recognize their true being, though their influence might be small, all in all, there will be a fundamental change in the world. People follow their leaders, and if among them are some people with a big heart who care about others, who are peaceful, then their influence will be strong enough to make the crimes of our present impossible, and maybe that'll lead to a new golden age. Thank you for your attention.
Großartig, das ist das Schöne heute hier an Stage One, dass wir so viele verschiedene Perspektiven gezeigt bekommen und einfach alles die ganze Zeit sich so ändert im Blickwinkel. Jetzt kommt, glaube ich, meine Kollegin Geraldine und übernimmt diese Bühne, wenn mich nicht alles täuscht. Ich weiß aber nicht, ob das stimmt. Doch, da kommt sie. Ein Applaus für Geraldine.
Dankeschön, Nils. Ja, ich glaube, wir machen gleich weiter. Es findet ein kurzer Umbau statt mit Moritz Simon Geist. Möchtest du so lange noch mal kurz zu mir kommen? Jetzt muss ich leider gestehen, dass es etwas spontan ist. Vielen Dank für deinen Besuch bei uns bei der Publica. Vielleicht kannst du ja noch mal kurz sagen, ob das für dich eine überraschende Einladung bei uns war.
Was it a surprise that we invented, that you shared it with us? Even in those times, it's really important to have a perspective, to have other different people on stage. And I don't really know if we have like a question-answer situation, because it would be good to have feedback from our participants. Is there anyone who wants to ask a question? You can't really see any hands out there. Okay, over there, there's someone. Is someone coming with a microphone?
Bitteschön.
There you go. Kurz hier dieses Kabel weg.
Hallo? Ja. Vielen Dank für den Beitrag.
Yeah, thanks for this piece. And it's really kind of abstract, obviously. I'm interested in, like, there's a context. The context is we have an aggressive war. And many people ask themselves, okay, there's some Buddhist coming and he's talking something about peace and how should that be possible in this military logic that we're just being put into. Can you say something to this?
Ich übersetze nochmal. Und zwar, ich glaube, das war die Frage, die natürlich auch sehr zu erwarten war. Wir erleben gerade einen Angriffskrieg von Russland auf die Ukraine und deswegen natürlich Zeiten, wo auch viele Menschen, die bisher, ich habe es auch, also ich übersetze frei, wenn das okay ist, sich als Pazifisten verstanden haben, eine andere Haltung aufgrund dieses Angriffskriegs entwickelt haben.
So maybe many people, due to the aggressive war in Ukraine, made pacifists' mind change. And what's your opinion on that? Well, basically, if we're interested in the teachings of the Buddha, we're being confronted with these explanations on peace and peacefulness. And we believe that we cannot achieve peace by violent means. At the same time, obviously, I see the very complicated situation. And if you ask me, what are we supposed to do? There's no single authoritative truth. We'd like that, but it just doesn't exist. And I think we have to engage, we have to use our energy to feel the situation to and act along our own values. And I quoted Gandhi earlier, right? And he said, we have to use violence to, defend ourselves from our aggressors. And that might surprise you, but the tension within this question, accepting that there's no true and false, I don't think that's something we can overcome. I myself, I believe in nonviolence, but at the same time, in our meditation center, we have families from Ukraine right now, and of course, I talked with them, and I see their needs and their dire situation. And so, you're not going to get a "this is right, this is wrong" answer from me. This is the way a Buddhist looks at it. I think we have to, do our part to come to a personal, for each and every one of us, authentic decision, and let that decision guide our actions in the world. And I think, different views are possible.
Das, Genau, dass du heute hier bist und deine Gedanken mit uns geteilt hast und dass wir natürlich eben realistisch gucken müssen, wie die Welt ist und wie sie eben mit unseren Werten hoffentlich in Zukunft noch besser in Einklang zu bringen ist, als es vielleicht im Moment der Fall ist. Ganz herzlichen Dank, Wilfried. So,
So, thank you very much, Wilfried.